Neighbor drives through my yard and dumps their garbage on my property. I've been dealing with some bad neighbors for 3 years now. I thought I'd share my story both for entertainment value but also ask, what would you do differently in my situation? The context behind the neighbors. An old man lives there who had a wife that passed away before I moved in. Now some younger people from the projects who aren't related to him take advantage of him and live with him rent-free. How they met, I don't know. Despite the less than reputable characters that live with him, the old man is the biggest thorn in my side. I wish I could post pictures in this subreddit, but I'll just have to describe it. My house is situated further back from the road than theirs. I can see into their backyard from my front door. The old man likes to drive into his yard and pull up to his front door to unload groceries so he doesn't have to walk as far to take them in the house. I understand that part. The problem is, he pulls down my driveway, then across my yard to get to his front door. It kills my grass and leaves ruts in the yard. The next time I saw him outside, I asked him to stop driving in my yard and he said he would, but he kept doing it. A second time, I asked him to stop, and again, it didn't stop. After the third, I was angry, so I went to his house and pounded on the door, but nobody answered. I went home, wrote an angry note, and package taped it to his door, threatening to call the police if it happened again. Surprise, it happened again. So after the fourth time it happened, I went to the police, and the police told him to stop, and he did. To this day, he hasn't driven in my yard, thank goodness. But the story doesn't end here. After my trouble with them, I put Ring cameras up on my property, and last month my cameras caught something baffling. He dumped a big box TV on my property. I have a huge yard and a lot of land. I even own some woods. He has a fenced-in yard and also owns some woods. He rode his lawn mower into my front yard, down my side yard, and into my backyard all the way to my woods, and dumped a box TV back there. It wasn't even 3 feet into the woods. You know, rather than leave it by the curb for the garbage company to recycle for free, he had to get rid of it on my property. The audacity. So, naturally, I took a picture of the TV and pulled the recordings from my cameras and took it to the police. The police are charging him with littering and forcing him to remove the TV and dispose of it properly, as well as trespassing him from my property. He'll be hit with criminal mischief if he sets even a foot on my property again. There was one morning last year where I woke up to go to work in the morning, and there were like 10 local police cars and state cops all outside his house. Here, the people from the projects that were living with him were dealing drugs out of his house, and they were doing a bust on them. Everyone but the old man was arrested, and they just got let out of jail this month and are back in the house. I really just need to move. It's a shame because I live in such a nice neighborhood. It's the reason I even picked the house, the location. I've talked to my other neighbors about the bad neighbors, and they said everything was fine before the old man's wife died. But now he almost seems like he has dementia and is being taken advantage of by some bad people. And now I have drug dealers and trespassers right next door. FML. Update. About a week ago, I posted talking about my issues with my neighbor driving through my yard in the past, and how I had the police tell them to stop, and how more recently my neighbor dumped a large box TV on my property, caught on my cameras and reported to the police. Yesterday, my camera caught my neighbor leaving a handwritten note on my door that I read when I got home from work, and I also heard from the police regarding the TV. I'll start with the conversation I had with the police and leeway into the note he left on my door. The police had been trying to reach my neighbor by phone for the last week and had made multiple visits to their house to tell him to remove the TV, but he wasn't answering his phone or the door. So the officers on duty have been making routine visits on our street to see if they could catch him outside, and they finally did. They told him he had to remove the TV, and he was livid, naturally. He tried to claim that the property wasn't mine and was his. It's mine. Not sure why he thinks otherwise, considering a fence separates our properties and that he could do what he wants. The officers said whether it was mine or his was irrelevant, as littering is littering, and you can't dispose of electric waste by dropping it in the woods and pretending it isn't there. So they told him he had to dispose of it properly, and they told me if the TV isn't gone in 3-4 days to call them again, and they're going to give him a citation for it. So that was yesterday that this conversation happened between them. Around lunchtime was when my Ring camera caught him leaving the note. The note said along the lines of, "I am giving you until June 1st to trim branches of a tree on your property that are dropping leaves and twigs into my property, or I'm filing a civil suit against you." I am tired of picking up the sticks and leaves dropped on my yard by your tree. So naturally, the first thing I did was look up my state and local laws, and also went to the police station to notify the officers that this happened so they were aware of it and could make a report. The officers at the station told me not to worry about it. They know what he's like, and he wouldn't actually go through with it. He's just mad that I got him in trouble and is taking it out on me with any excuse he can come up with, and the officers told me it's not my responsibility to take care of it. Our state and local laws state that it's not the responsibility of the owner to trim branches that protrude over property line, but that property owner that it is protruding on is allowed to cut back the branches back off of their property line. Whether you agree with that or not is up to you, but that's the law that I both read and that the police department informed me of. But here's the thing. The tree is healthy, and it's not dropping large branches or anything of the sort, nor does it go over anything that would cause damage to his property. Even if it did, insurance takes care of that. It's not my responsibility. He's obviously butthurt about me getting him in trouble these last few months and is reaching at anything he possibly can to cause trouble for me like I have for him. Unfortunately, I'm an upstanding citizen and he has no grounds to get me in trouble with anything. Also, our police department and local government despises him and his residents so much that even if this somehow does go to court, his word is nothing compared to mine. So, I'm calling his bluff and ignoring him. I know him well enough at this point, too. I'm not giving him the attention he wants. If he would have been kind about the situation and had a respectful conversation with me about the tree, I would have been a lot more considerate. But he didn't even talk to me about it. Now that he thinks he can threaten me, he can forget it. The amount he's inconvenienced me severely outweighs leaves falling from my tree into his yard. Maybe when he stops driving across my yard and dumping garbage on my property and trespassing, I'll think about whether or not to help him. I can't believe there's people on this planet so selfish. See my last post for the details on how these people are the scum of our community. Crack-dealing sociopaths in the one garbage house of our nice neighborhood. I'm really disappointed things have ended up this way because the whole reason I even got the house was because of the neighborhood, but I had to pick the one place next door to the crack dealers and trespassers. Again, FML. I'm gonna start looking for a new place to live. I'm so thankful the police has been so helpful and understanding of the situation. But it seems no matter how many times I send them and no matter how willing they are to cause trouble for me, this needless drama won't end until they're out of that house or I just leave. I keep to myself. I'm a single, quiet guy who minds his own business in his own house. I just want to be left alone. It's time to start looking elsewhere, I think. Anyways, I hope my strife has been entertaining. I'll probably have another update after the first week of June regarding all of this. Would you have done anything differently? Let me know if you have any advice. Thanks. Update 2. This will be my final update regarding what's been going on, unless anything substantial happens in the future. I don't think anything else is going to come of this particular situation, but some things have happened between now and my last post. Here's what's happened. In my last posts, I told the story of my recent strife with my neighbor, an old man who keeps trespassing on my property and drove through my yard on multiple occasions, only stopping after the police made him do so. He then trespassed again by dumping a large box TV in my woods in my backyard. After telling the police about the TV, and after they confronted him and told him to remove it, he left a note on my door, threatening legal action for a tree that's dropping leaves and twigs in his yard, and if I didn't take care of it by June 1st, he'd be suing me. For the finer details where I went more in depth about it, see my last post from about a week and a half ago from the link above. As for the update, it's now June 3rd, and naturally I've done nothing about the tree. Countless conversations with other people, including the police, as well as my own research tell me I'm not responsible. I haven't heard from the neighbor, haven't heard from anybody on his behalf, haven't gotten any more notes on my door or in my mailbox or anything of the sort. It was just as we suspected, all bark no bite. He was mad about me getting him in trouble and tried to intimidate me, and it didn't work. He's since removed the TV. Where he put it, I'm not sure. I never saw it on the curb for the garbage or anything. For all I know, he could have just threw it in his own woods. But I don't care enough to attempt to find out. It's off my property and none of my business anymore as a result. I also double-checked with the police to be sure that he was trespassed for good, and they assured me he was, and him removing the TV from my property was the last time he or anybody in that house was permitted from stepping foot on it, and he understood this. As many commenters suggested, I went down to our local human services building in our township and spoke to somebody in the Office of Aging. It's our version of Adult Protective Services. I spent an hour at their office and made a full report on the whole situation to them. The old man and his seemingly declined mental state and physical state, the types of people living with him. I gave them all the juicy details, from the footage of him struggling to climb 2 stairs onto my porch to leave the note showcasing his physical state, to another time where he chased a squirrel on his lawn mower into my yard, showcasing his mental state. I even showed them the footage I had from the raid on his house where the people that were living with them were temporarily arrested for dealing crack out of his house. I gave them the names of the people living with him, given to me by my buddy in the police department who has been dealing with them for me. I left no detail out, no stone unturned. The woman I spoke with submitted the report to their investigation unit, but she said I wouldn't get an update regarding the situation. I'm only going to hear from anybody if they ask for more information from me. Only time will tell if this will do any good, not only for myself, but for the old man too. To summarize, the TV is off my property. They're officially trespassed. Their legal action threats were bluffs, and they haven't driven on my yard since. I feel better about everything, and I'm hoping that this is the last I have to deal with for the foreseeable future, but only time will tell. Of course, should anything else happen, I'll be quick to tell it here. But for now, this will be the last time I post regarding this situation. I also wanted to thank everybody for the suggestions made on my previous posts. I wouldn't have thought to make a report with the Office of Aging if it wasn't for commenters. Here's hoping he gets the help he needs, and I get the peace and quiet I've been longing for. New update. Neighbor paid me a visit to threaten legal action against me again. My neighbor previously left a note on my door telling me I needed to either cut down a tree on my property or trim the branches back so it stops dropping leaves on his yard. He left the note in the middle of May and said he was giving me until June 1st to do something about it or he would be filing a civil suit. Naturally, I didn't do anything about it. June 3rd, I made a post giving an update on the situation and how he didn't do anything and calling his bluff was the right thing to do. Here's the link to the post, which also links to all the previous posts with all my issues I've had with him, like him driving on my lawn and dumping garbage on my property. Well, last night, at about 5 p.m., he paid me a visit. I didn't answer the door, but I have a Ring camera and he knows it records, so he left me a message. He said along the lines of, "Well, since you don't want to come to the door, you need to take care of the tree. I'm tired of the stuff landing in my yard. I know you can see me. I know you can hear me. I'm giving you 2 weeks, then I'm going to the magistrate." Then he left. He's been trespassed from my property, so he violated the trespass. I sent the footage from my Ring camera to the officer that's been dealing with him on my behalf, the one that trespassed him. I'm awaiting a response for now. I'm not doing anything about the tree. I've stated in my previous post that our state and local laws refer to what he's complaining about as shedding, and the landowner that the tree resides on can't be held responsible for leaves or twigs that fall from it onto another person's property. It's standard tree law. Even if it was larger branches that were damaging his house or land, which it's not, insurance handles that. And it's still not my responsibility. This conclusion is not only from my own research, but also what our police department and a lawyer I spoke to told me. So he has no grounds. If he tries to take it to court, they'd laugh at him. That's the thing, though. He won't take it to court. He's already proven to me he won't do shit. He gave me a week and a half before to take care of it, and I didn't. It's been almost 2 weeks since the deadline he gave me, and all he did was extend his deadline after 2 weeks of me not complying. I'm really not worried at all, but I thought I'd share the experience for the entertainment and for the update for those interested in the situation from my past dealings with him. I really don't want there to be a reason to post any more updates, but I will continue to post them if the opportunity arises. Major update. Just 1 day after my last post, I had a confrontation with my neighbor outside. Before anybody gets too excited, nothing physical happened. Just a short exchange of words. I had to wait so long to make an update because I've been waiting to hear back from the police, and after 8 days of waiting and emails, I finally got a response from the police and enough information to warrant an update. If you've seen my last posts, you can skip the next paragraph. To summarize what was mentioned in my last posts, I previously got my neighbor in trouble for 2 things he had been doing to my inconvenience. First, he was driving on my lawn, killing my grass, and leaving ruts in the ground. After asking him 3 times to stop, I sent the police over to tell him to stop, and thankfully since then he hasn't done it again. Second, he dumped a big box TV in my backyard. After a month and a half of deliberation with the police, they finally made him remove the TV, and I asked them to formally trespass him while they were at it too, so that he couldn't come onto my property anymore. The very same day he was trespassed, he came to my house and left a note at my door. The note said that he was giving me a deadline to cut down or cut back a tree on my property that was dropping leaves on his yard, or he would file a civil suit against me. After his deadline came and went, and I naturally didn't do anything about the tree, 10 days later he came to my door and left a message to my Ring camera stating he was giving me another 2 weeks to deal with the tree, or he was going to the magistrate. He's grasping at whatever excuse he can muster to get me in trouble because I've gotten him in trouble, but he holds no grounds, and I'm an upstanding citizen with nothing for him to get me in trouble with. That's everything up to now. Here's what's happened since my last post. I was out cutting my grass last Thursday, and after I was nearly finished and started weed-whacking my backyard, he rode his lawnmower onto my property once again. Keep in mind, he has a fence, so it's not like he stayed in his yard and yelled to me. He deliberately went out of his fenced yard, into my front yard, and down my side yard into my backyard. My plan, if he ever did confront me, was to simply ignore him. Because of the type of person he is, I knew he just wants the drama and attention. It didn't entirely go that way. He rode over to me and said, "Hey, my name," and I ignored him at first. Then he gave me the "come here" finger gesture, and that kind of pissed me off. So here's what I said. "No, I'm not talking to you. You've been trespassed, and you need to go home," is all I said. Keep in mind, his lawnmower was running the whole time, and I had noise-canceling headphones in, but I know I said it loud enough for him to hear me. But I didn't hear what he said back. I'm sure he just repeated what he's been saying to me about the tree because he pointed at it. I didn't want to hear what he had to say anyways. He quickly retreated back off of my property saying he was going to the magistrate. So after I finished my weed whacking, I pulled the video from my backyard camera and went right down to the police station to report the confrontation. But nobody was available to talk to me due to an incident that was going on the same day. So I emailed the officer I've been dealing with and CC'd every other officer I had the email of and sent the video to him, stating this is the 3rd time he's trespassed since being formally trespassed, and I need something to be done about it because it feels like harassment at this point. I immediately got an email back saying they would address it and that they would contact me the next day, Friday. Friday came and went, and I never heard from anybody. Then the whole weekend passed. Then Monday, nothing. So Tuesday, I emailed the officer again saying that I was just checking in, as they said they'd talk to me by last Friday, and it was now Tuesday with no update. I still hadn't heard anything until right now, today. I got a call from the officer, which I couldn't answer at the time, and he left me a voicemail. I'm going to copy and paste the voicemail transcription so you can read it for yourself. Here it is. "Hi, my name. It's Officer his name. I just wanted to get back in touch with you and provide you an update in regards to your complaint about your neighbor there. Myself and other officer did go up there this past weekend. It would have been on Saturday. We talked to Mr. my neighbor in regards to the consistent trespass. Also, we informed him that we will be filing a criminal charge, for defiant trespass against him. I don't think I'll need you to testify for that in court because I do have the videos that you sent me. However, if that changes, I can give you a call and let you know. If he's on your property any further going forward, please do let us know, and let us know if he persists with this silly tree business. He was kind of receptive to the information and maybe seemed to get a reality check. If you have any problems at all, though, just give us a call. Thank you. Bye." I haven't spoken to the officer, but if I do have to testify in court, I'll be more than happy to. He said that my neighbor seemed to have a reality check, so I'm really hoping this is the last I have to deal with him. But I'm not expecting that to be the case. Either way, I'm feeling really good about this. I'll keep my doors locked and my eyes on the back of my head, though. The police assured me when they raided his house last year there were no weapons and that nobody in the house has a violent history, but you can never be too safe. I haven't heard from him, anybody on his behalf, or anybody else since the confrontation. Again, thanks to everybody for the suggestions on what to and how to deal with the situation. I'm still a first-time homeowner, so this is all new to me. I've become intimately familiar with tree law and trespass law now because of this, for better or for worse. Of course, should anything else happen, I'll be quick to make an update post here. Thanks for your time.